What's going on, YouTube? So it's safe to say that the Honda Civic has long been an iconic nameplate that is also one of America's best sellers.
Which is exactly why we were super happy to spend the last week with this Civic to truly put it to the test.
And we wanted to know, is the best seller actually the best option in the segment? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so let's get things started here under the hood with our spec dump. So this has two different powertrain options. We have the top option, which is the hybrid powertrain. It's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine paired with 2 electric motors to make 200 horsepower. Power is routed through a direct drive system that behaves like an eCVT, and our combined fuel economy is 49 miles per gallon.
Now the base price of the Civic is around $24,500, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, this is a real-world 7-day review, so we have some special elements to talk about, such as our real-world experienced fuel economy. We'll also be getting things like an official Kentucky sound level reading, and at the end of the video telling you if we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it this week.
But of course, before we get into that stuff, we need to close up the hood and talk about the exterior as well as the inside and all of our insights. Now, like we mentioned at the introduction, this is the best-selling compact car, or at least it is when we're filming this video today in late 2025. They're always back and forth. It's in a very heavy battle with the Corolla, but this vehicle here, regardless, is one of America's best-selling models. And it's easy to see why. In terms of the design up here in the front, Honda recently slightly tweaked the overall look, but nothing too much is going on. It's a very unoffensive design. You have a black mesh for your grille here, a little bit of a lower grille and a slight underbody kit. And then right here you have a body color piece that goes out for just the hybrid model. So that's one way you can see in the front if this is a hybrid or the traditional powertrain. As far as the lighting is concerned, we have reflector LEDs. This is standard across the entire lineup. They're pretty good at night as well, and you have an LED daytime running light and turn signal indicator. As we take a look at the back, it continues with a pretty simple, but I think attractive design.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as individual design touches, of course, we have the hatchback variant. So that means we have a sloped glass through here, our rear window wiper, full-length taillights across the back. And let's take a look at these taillights and see if all the elements are LED. So we have an LED brake light, incandescent reverse light, incandescent turn signal. I kind of wish they would just do a full LED unit, but overall it's a pretty premium taillight unit. We have our sport branding. This is going to be blacked out for 2026, as well as your hybrid branding. And then down here at the bottom, no exposed exhaust outlets.
Moving into the wheels, you have a 16-inch wheel on the base LX sedan. However, we have the 18-inch alloys on the rest of the trims. This on the Sport Touring is a contrast design with kind of a gray finish. I think it looks quite nice. And then as far as our mirrors are concerned, since we have a Sport trim, we have a gloss black finish. If you get the Sport trim or above, that's where you get heating and blind spot monitoring.
Now at this side, like I mentioned, we have the hatchback variety. You can also get this vehicle in a sedan form. That's about 185 inches in length, or this hatchback is 179 inches in length. As far as design, we have blacked out window surrounds for our sport models. And when it comes to safety, Honda makes it super easy. You're getting all of your active safety features as standard equipment. And that even includes things like adaptive cruise control with a traffic jam assist. And guys, it works really quite well over the past week. There's also a lot for us to talk about on the inside and our impressions with that. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. All right, now it's time for the interior. First, here's our key fob. The Sport trim and above give you the smart entry system with remote start on the fob itself. And getting inside, just grab behind the handle and that will unlock the door. And of course, looking inside the interior, this has a very similar interior to many other Hondas in the lineup, including ones that cost a lot more than this model, frankly. Now, Let's start by talking about the seats. So the base LX sedan, that would come with a cloth seat. However, the hatchback starts out with the sport trim with a leatherette and cloth combination seat. On our top end sport touring trim, we get a full leather seat. And since this is a hybrid as well, it unlocks the availability of the gray interior color that you're looking at right now. As far as the seats themselves, we found them to be very comfortable this week. However, the lumbar felt a little bit more than what I would have wanted, and that's a problem because we actually don't have adjustable lumbar on this, so it certainly would be something I would like to see Honda add in the future. But as you can see, the seat itself is power adjusting otherwise for the sport touring trim. No memory seats though. Now let's go ahead and climb inside. Get that little animation on the screen when you shut the door, and let's look around at the rest of the cabin materials. So over here on the door trim, we have a leatherette, nicely padded. Through the center section, we actually have the gray finish, the same color as the seats, and then a soft touch plastic at the top. The same soft touch plastic goes across the entire upper dashboard. We have a piano black finish across our single vent detailing, and then down here on the lower panels, this will be hard touch. However, everything fits together super solidly as you expect from Honda. Now we'll fire it up with the push button start. So like always, one of the first features to get into is our gauge cluster, front and center. So as you can see, we've got the digital gauge cluster. This is Honda's 10.2-inch unit. It is on the sport touring trim level only, and you can reconfigure several different elements of the design. And then as we pull back to the steering wheel, we have the typical Honda fare here. Nice leatherette wrapping, manual tilt and telescoping. Just be aware the fully loaded model does not add steering wheel heating, but it does add rain sensing wipers. And let's come over here to our center console and check out the interior storage. So this is a compact car after all, so you don't really expect a lot. And I'm very impressed to tell you today that this has 12 donuts inside. That's a dozen donuts, and that passes our donut test. Very seldom do you see that in the compact segment, especially not from the main rival, the Toyota Corolla. Up in front of that, we have two cup holders. Then you have a large storage cubby in the front, which also has a wireless phone charging pad. As far as the shifter, just the traditional style, not the push button. Pull back for drive. Go up for reverse. When you do, here's our standard backup camera. Resolution is fine for the segment. You have got active trajectory as well, and then parking sensors front and rear are on this top sport touring. Behind the shifter, you have your drive mode controller as well as your electronic parking brake with brake hold system. Now, moving above, we have our climate controls. Very simple panel. Really, in general, this vehicle just has a lot of simple parts and easy things to engage with that work very nicely over the past week. This dual zone climate system comes on the Sport Hybrid and above, and of course is very easy to use. Also, the heated seats are part of that package there with the Sport Hybrid and above, no seat ventilation. Then you have a physical volume knob for the available audio systems. So this scales upward in terms of different trim levels, giving you different numbers of speakers. The top trim gives you 12 speakers with the Bose designation, and let's go ahead and give that a sample. Yeah, so overall sound quality of this system, pretty good. Definitely fills up the cabin nicely and is one of the better sounding sound systems in the segment. All right, so let's take a look at the interior tech now. This is our infotainment system. We have the 9-inch display today. That's just on the Sport Touring though, so that's kind of an important thing to consider if you're shopping the Civic lineup, because only this top model gets the 9-inch display. With the 9-inch display, you get Google built in. So that means you have access to Google Maps, Google Assistant, and the Play Store. And you also have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay abilities as well. Now, the other trim levels come with a 7-inch display instead. Those do not have Google built in. And while they still have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it is a wired connection. So this is something, like I said, kind of important to keep in mind if you want to go all the way up to the top to get the best experience. Now, as far as what we lived with this week, this has been a pretty flawless experience. It's worked really nicely. It's paired to my phone completely. and everything was working well. Up top here, we've got an auto-dimming mirror. No home link remotes on this though. And then I'll go ahead and slide back the sunroof. As you can see, it's a traditional sized unit, and this comes on the Sport Hybrid trim and above.
All right, but we need to talk about the rear seats of the Honda Civic, and there's some good news when it comes to this area as well. This is one of the largest options in the entire segment at about 37 inches of legroom and about 37 inches of headroom. Like I just said, that is larger than main rivals like the Toyota Corolla. Now it is going to be on par with some of the other largest options, but certainly very good for this size of vehicle. We brought along the official Car Confections ruler as well. The reason we do that is so we can see a realistic knee room figure. This seat is Drew's 5'8" seating position. I am 5'9", and we're looking at about 7.5 inches of knee space. Great for the segment. Also, my feet can slide up underneath of the seats. And speaking of these seats, guys, I have to say, really, the vast majority of the competition gives you a terrible rear seat. But these are actually super soft and super comfortable. We've enjoyed them the last week. And we also have a center armrest with 2 cup holders inside. Now, aside from that, though, you're not going to have any features. No vents, no USBs, no heated rear seats, nothing like that. I'm a little disappointed they didn't at least include vents and USB ports. But over on the door trim, we have a pretty nice one. It's going to be hard touch on the upper part, so it is a little cheaper than the front, but we still have leatherette all through the center section and on the armrest portion. Also, as you can see, it does have enough bottle storage for a pretty large size bottle. All right, and walking up to the cargo area, there's a button under the lid, so you can just pull that and open up the hatchback in this case. Now, the hatchback, of course, is going to have more practicality than the sedan. We're looking at about 24.5 cubic feet of cargo space in this version, or about 14 cubic feet in the sedan version. Both of those are going to be very good numbers for a compact sedan like this. And speaking of maybe how it compares to the competition, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at all the affordable sedans on the market and ranked them in individual categories that might matter most to you. Things like cargo capacity, interior technology, luxury features, powertrain choices, and of course, very importantly, value. So you can see the best options in each of those categories. So definitely check that out if you want to make an informed buying decision. Now, back to this model, you will see that we have 60/40 split folding seats. You can just easily reach up here and fold those down. I do want to point out that's only included on the sport trims and above the 60/40 split. I believe it's just a single piece fold on the cheaper Civic models, so keep that in mind. And let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. So overall cargo length for this hatchback is really good, guys. About 70 inches of cargo length behind Drew's 5'8" seating position. From behind the second row of seats, 36 inches. As far as the opening, that's also 36 inches. And the height, I'll get that from this point right here. It's about 29 inches. Just be aware it kind of shrinks and goes up and down a little bit, so you may have to work around it. And then underneath of the floor, there's a little bit of extra space, but I do want to point out there is not a spare tire, at least here on the hybrid models. And you do have this nice little built-in cargo cover as well. Well, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Honda Civic. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading and, of course, discussing real-world fuel economy after the past week. But first, we need to start with a hard acceleration.
Okay, there's 60 miles an hour.
That's quick.
Yep, pretty quick for sure. Of course, that's because we have plenty of power on board. 200 horsepower and 232 pound-feet of torque from Honda's 2-motor hybrid system. So this has a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine with 2 electric motors, and that's what generates that power figure. Really nice power for this segment of vehicle. Certainly, the expectation is that you're generally going to have pretty low-powered options, and especially considering this is not like a high-performance option. Honda does still offer like a Civic Si, for example, as more of a performance-oriented model, but this is a lot of power just for a regular model, and especially when we get to our discussion about fuel economy later on, you'll see why this is such a strong combination.
Yeah, absolutely. After living with it this week, like the power itself, I think a lot of you guys will be very impressed with. The 0 to 60, as estimated by Motor Trend, is about 6.1 seconds in their testing. So certainly this is actually very quick for the segment. Like Drew was saying, it's going to leave a Corolla hybrid absolutely in the dust. That is for sure. And it's also more powerful than the standard engine option that you get on this model. So the LX and Sport grades, if you're looking at a sedan, will have a 2-liter 4-cylinder, no turbocharging or anything like that, 150 horsepower, 133 pound-feet of torque. We have reviewed multiple of those Civics, so if you'd like to check out what that is like behind the wheel, you can hop on over to one of those videos. But I will point out, just, sitting here, this hybrid is definitely the more desirable choice of the two. This is a lot faster, as well as has that all-electric torque off the line, whereas the traditional gasoline option is going to be a little bit slower off the line.
Yeah, even when you're not going full throttle, I'm definitely very happy with the amount of power and the amount of torque from the hybrid system. Now, let's talk about other elements of the powertrain. So this does have, the way this hybrid system is structured, basically it directly drives the wheels, but the overall performance is like an eCVT, and you do have shift simulation as well. And as you can see, when I was accelerating partial and full throttle, you're going to get that both ways, just kind of giving you a little bit more of a traditional feel and helping you avoid the droning sensation.
Yeah, and as far as how power is routed to the ground, the Civic, unfortunately, has still not added all-wheel drive, so it is going to be a front-wheel drive exclusive vehicle. That does, of course, help your fuel economy, but I do wish that they would add all-wheel drive like many of the competitors have at this point. And we've turned out on the highway portion, so we can talk about ride quality. And that's one of the things that you really get a good feel for a vehicle after you live with it for a week. And you drive it over all types of road surfaces. And honestly, I've been very impressed with what the Civic has delivered this week. It honestly feels a little bit like a class above when it comes to ride quality. It does a great job of isolating out bumps. I will point out it is going to be a little bit on the sportier side. So there are maybe some more luxury-oriented models that you could get to have softer sprung suspension, but I think Honda has really nailed making this a comfortable riding vehicle while also having a little bit of that sporty character that I think a lot of people do like with the Civic. Also, these seats, I will just go ahead and compliment a lot. These are really comfortable seats, at least here in the Sport Touring model. We actually own a 2025 Camry, if you're familiar with the channel, and these seats run circles around it. They are way, way, way more comfortable.
Yeah, even without adjustable lumbar support. And honestly, just the body of the Civic feels so solid. That really contributes to that class above feel that Mason was talking about just a second ago.
And we're speeding up to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading in the Civic. We have it on fan speed 1. 59.1 decibels before we had to start slowing down there as our sound level reading in this model. Now we don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to the competition. We can find that at carconfections.com/sound level readings, and compared to its rivals, that is still going to place this on the louder end of the spectrum. The quietest option in the segment is the Kia K4. That's sitting at around 54 decibels. And we've really noticed this on all of the Honda products, and especially here in the Civic. They unfortunately don't include a ton of sound deadening on this model. So even here in the fully loaded Sport Touring model, while it is quieter than trim levels like the Sport or the LX, it's still going to be pretty loud. And honestly, we noticed that this week as you drive over like rougher road surfaces, it makes a lot of noise inside this cabin. So I really wish Honda would maybe improve their sound deadening a little bit more.
Yeah, it's one of the things that doesn't feel as premium about this product, certainly. The handoff between electric and gas power is absolutely seamless. It's actually a little bit smoother because I got to drive them back to back between our Camry and this. It's actually a little bit smoother than Toyota. So Toyota, of course, is kind of the leader in hybrid technology, but some of the rivals are starting to catch up in terms of the refinement, and I think Honda is leading the way here with just having a very smooth and refined power delivery and handoff between the two systems.
Yeah. And let's talk about fuel economy. I'm sure you're very curious about that. So this hybrid is rated at 50, 47, 49 miles per gallon combined. That is absolutely incredible fuel economy, guys. A huge benefit over the traditional gasoline option that you'll find on this model, which is rated at 34 miles per gallon for most of the trim levels. So really great fuel economy. Of course, the Corolla gets great fuel economy as well, but like Drew said, I think the experience here is so much better and is still delivering that exceptionally good fuel economy. Now, what about our real world experience over the past week? Well, due to the timing of this loan, and we had to film this video a little bit earlier than our full tank of gas being depleted, we'll just go ahead and insert a picture in on the screen right now after we have done some mixed city and highway driving, and you can see our real world fuel economy over a week. But I have to say, initially on the first couple days that we've had this vehicle, it's been doing really well. Every trip has been sitting right around 48 miles per gallon.
Now, Mason hit on this a little bit earlier, but the dynamic ability of the Civic is very strong. It's certainly always been a great handling vehicle. Honda does a good job with the steering. You can see you get nice response from this, and compared to the competition, this is one of the sportiest options.
Yeah. And let's go ahead and get into our slam dunk and airball, our favorite and least favorite element. Drew, why don't you kick us off with the slam dunk?
The slam dunk is going to be a kind of a combination of just how incredibly well-rounded this product is, and also specifically the hybrid system, which we've discussed at length as being quite impressive.
Yeah. On the airball side, what we're going to say is the price of this Civic is pretty high. Here in the fully loaded Sport Touring, it's pretty expensive. And I just want to point out, for those of you that weren't really paying attention in the video, most of the equipment that you see that's actually really nice is maybe just Sport Touring exclusive. This is a product that in the lower trim levels, you really don't get a ton. I think that the Kia K4 offers a much better value if you're going to spend like maybe $26,000, $27,000, because you're going to get a very basic Civic at that price point. Now, the Sport Touring is very competitive and very nice, but some of those lower end models don't give you a lot. So after a week, do we like it better, the same, or worse? Well, I think it's easily going to be better. I think the Civic is just really one of those all-around great products, and living with it for a week fully solidifies that in our mind. And this is the first time we were able to live with the Civic Hybrid for a week, and I think we were very impressed with it. And of course, we need to discuss pricing. That's very important. So the LX model in the sedan form is $24,500. Now, if you want the hatchback, it's a little bit of an upcharge, and you start at the Sport trim level. That's $27,795. Now, this Sport Touring Hybrid hatchback is $33,495 as a starting point, and you can see the price of this particular model on the screen right now. We are looking at around that $35,000 or $34,000 price tag after destination, depending on what paint color you select. This model is manufactured in Canada, and if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that'll connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealership negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. But buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. First up, let's talk about resale value. As an economics graduate myself, we took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this Honda Civic's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 60,000 miles, it'll be worth 64.8% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 34.34%. Now, it's worth noting that is actually the very best car brand of all vehicle brands that we look at in the 5-year metric, which is certainly very impressive, and also in the 10-year metric, it is very good. The Honda Civic is one of the best resale value vehicles that money can buy, period.
Now, the same can also be said about reliability, where Honda scores quite highly. That's why we developed the Combined Reliability Index, because it takes into account several studies about reliability and combines them in a way that gives you a holistic picture. When you take into account all that data, Honda is one of the highest rated overall automakers with reliability.
Now, if you'd like to learn more about our resale values, our reliability data, or our methodology, be sure to go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, so you want to make sure you're making a smart purchase, especially if you're cross-shopping between different vehicle brands. Now, when it comes to your warranty, you have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain. You do additionally get 1 year and 12,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. And guys, that wraps up our in-depth 7-day review of the 2026 Honda Civic Hybrid Hatchback. If you enjoyed watching this video or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, which we really hope you did, we'd appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. By subscribing, you're going to be a part of our Car Confections family. We have a lot of fun on this channel, and we promise you won't want to miss out. And we also have a lot of extensive 7-day reviews where we can give our real-world impressions, so you won't want to miss out on all of that. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies. And if you're already a fan and subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support.